Morning in progress.
So they haven't gone.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday.
Hi. Good morning, Mom.
So today's gonna be a little different because we have a guest speaker zooming in with us, and we want to give as much time as possible. So we're gonna do our meet and greet on our culture things and jump right in with James Shaw. So right now, you gotta find somebody you've never known before and either talk with them, or if you're on Zoom and there's like a bunch of people on Zoom already, you got to direct message two people. You have 1 minute on your mark and set, go.
She got her license well, she's been in it for 6 years, and I've been in it. Okay, how old are And you said Shelley or Sherry? Shirley. Shirley. Close.
All right, let's find
Yeah, let's get together and have something there. Oh, that would be so great.
And like we said a message out to all of our vendor friends. We're not going to go through and introduce who's here today because we want to give James more info, but we do want to get to our Vindy Award for the week.
Really quick, and just as a reminder, everything you say in here goes through the speakers, so you can hear everything.
And it does in a TCPA compliant friendly way. Okay, maybe not. Christy, you were the winner last week, correct?
Yes, hello. Not a whole lot of vendors here today, but I would like to go ahead and give it to Garrett since he's here.
I showed up.
You showed up.
Participation award. It is truly a participation award.
It truly is. Show up and you get a trophy.
All right.
Look, that's awesome.
Okay, a real quick blurb on Onward. Haley's, is she down here?
Yeah, Haley's
Okay,
here.
tell us real quick what Onward does.
Onward does transaction coordination, marketing management, sign running, and closing gift baskets. A lot of fun.
Awesome, thank you. And remember, our vendor partners are in here to help support you and your business. So even if we're not going around and introducing them today, make sure you take the time to go and thank them for showing up and for all of their help and participation in everything that we do.
And each week we look at our MVBVP. This week's our mission, which is to build careers worth having,
Businesses worth owning,
lives worth living,
experiences worth giving.
and legacies worth leaving. My favorite thing is only 2 of these deal with business. The rest of this is about having a life that's amazing. And we have a culture winner each week, and it was Lexi last week, and I did
Yes.
text you, and so the winner this week is.
Okay, so the person that Lexi selected said, right from the beginning, it was evident that this real estate transaction would pose challenges and we knew we would need the guidance of a commercial listing agent. Despite this, she generously offered to meet with our client, providing valuable advice even before any formal co-listing agreement was even mentioned. Her team spirit and willingness to go above and beyond embody what it means to work together in real estate. She jumped in before knowing she'd co-list with us, showing her commitment from the start. Her eagerness to impart knowledge and provide invaluable advice underscores her integrity and dedication to the real estate community. Congratulations, Carrie Tennis.
Yeah. She's not here today, so we get to text her. So get thrown out. We're going to congratulate her on winning. Her number is 417-224-2890. One more time, 417-224-2890. And again, if you're not a commercial agent, get help from somebody that is. Because otherwise you get this cool thing that I have in my desk, but when I tried that 5 years ago, it's a letter from an attorney saying, you're not doing this right, and you don't want to do that. So make sure you're handing off and getting help, because our commercial people would love to help you. I forgot to put her name up there.
And just a quick reminder, if we could minimize the side conversations, we can hear a lot of it up here.
And it's going
Yeah,
through
it's getting
everywhere,
pretty
so.
distracting up there.
Okay, Red Day, real quick, blurb on this. We've raised over
$40,000 so far for Red Day. We're going back to the Dream Center this year. Make sure if you have not registered for a job, talk to Amanda Huff, Amy Hunsaker Williams, Cassie Jones, Corey Jett, and they'll help get you the form to sign up for that. And here's the volunteer sign up sheet that they've created. We all love QR codes, fast and easy. Scan that, sign up, and then that way you can receive all the communication we have for Red Day.
You do not want to miss being part of that day. It's great that we give money, but actually getting there and helping and being physically part of it, that is a life-changing thing right there.
Yeah, and it's more than just giving back to our local community. It's the time that I've mentioned that you're able to connect with other Keller Williams agents. So if you're new or if you've been in the business a long time, we are a larger brokerage. And so this is a time that you're able to meet and build those relationships here.
Yep.
He can get it.
Okay, he's got it?
He's got it.
Okay, and we're up already. We've gotten there. All right, slide, work.
Yep.
So our guest this week is James Shaw. How many of you are part of the Pivot Shift Ahead Facebook group? See if you in here. You ought to be in that.
Well, what's everybody's problem? Why aren't they part of the group? What the heck?
Exactly.
So in this Facebook group, there are almost 118,000 realtors in there. And every morning at 7:30, they have a group call. And I believe they change the Zoom link once a quarter because of the amount of people.
Yep.
But it's not just talking about real estate. It's helping them navigate. And this started back in COVID. So the moment the world shut down, I remember James said, hey, let's pop on the Zoom and let's have this conversation. And I think he posted a video or a photo of the faces of everybody that joined the Zoom call 4 years ago when the world shut down, and just the amount of inspiration and motivation he was able to provide to those members that's grown into this event that it is. And he now actually has his own event that I'm sure he'll talk about as well for that. And James has been a speaker at our market center before in person and over Zoom. And this is one of our most attended and loved trainings or conversations that we've had with James.
And Landon, let's go ahead and get him pinned on the screen there. And James, we're just going to turn it over to you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Hey, I was kidding, by the way, about the people that aren't in my group. It's fine. You do you. That was just trying to be funny. Can you do me a favor, Mike?
Yes.
When you put it on, instead of pinning me, because I like to see everybody, can you just put your screen in speaker view so that they can see me in speaker view and then I can see the people in the room? Is that cool with you?
We will try.
Let me micromanage this from Tampa, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
You're the best. I have to tell you real quick. So my name's James. You have some of the best leadership in all of Keller Williams. I hope you know that. Do you know that? Like, honestly, I'm looking at two people do. They know that. I've known Rachel a long time. She is legit. Like, absolutely one of my favorite people inside of Keller Williams. So show her some love real quick because, yeah. And Mike is amazing, and he made sure we pulled this puppy off today. So I'm honored to be back with you guys. I interviewed Paulina once from your office. I don't know if she's on or there, but what she's doing is really cool, which is awesome. So I love it a lot. I love everything that y'all do. Hold on, I got to change my view because now I just see me, and I want to see all the people. There we go. Okay, so thank you for having me. Listen, when Mike and Rachel were telling me about stuff and what we wanted to talk about today, it's the same conversation I'm having with people all over the country. Is there anybody? Oh, Paulina is here. Hey, girl, what's going on? Is there anybody that has got any concern, anxiety, fascination about the market right now, where it's headed, what's going to happen this summer? Who is experiencing any? Be honest with me too. I don't like people that are like everything's fine when it's not. Just tell me the truth.
All the above.
Sitting in the room or on the Zoom that is experiencing any stress, anxiety, frustration in your business at this moment? Raise your hand, be honest with me.
Yes and yes.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. And I think the rest of you probably just aren't telling me the truth. The thing about it is that anytime we go through any sort of change or pivot's the word we've been using, it brings stress and anxiety to us. And I want to unpack some of the stuff because when I started the Pivot Shift Ahead Facebook group, and if you are not a member of that group, I would love for you to join it. It's free. I don't sell you stuff in there. Like, my passion is giving back to people. So if you're not part of Pivot Shift Ahead, I hope you would join it. You can find it on Facebook. You all have a Facebook account. And you just type in Pivot Shift Ahead. I'll approve you and you can come in. And in there, like, I don't know if you're part of any other Facebook groups where it's a I almost said a bad word, a complaining session all the time and a moaning session all the time. And instead, what we do inside of Pivot is we focus on the things we can control. And we talk about strategies to help you succeed. So if you're not part of Pivot Shift Ahead, just go into Facebook, type Pivot Shift Ahead. You'll find it, and I'll add you. And we'd love to have you in there. When the NAR settlement got announced, a lot of people were I don't know, there were a lot of experts all of a sudden before they had seen anything. And there's still a lot of experts before they've seen anything because it's still got to go through an approval process and it hasn't been approved by the court yet. And yet when that dropped, I saw a lot of people get very nervous. I've heard people say the number of real estate agents is going to get cut in half. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's crazy. It didn't get cut in half when the market fell off the table last time. I don't think that's going to happen now. A lot of people very nervous about how they're going to get paid. And I don't know what the rules are in Missouri about buyer agency and stuff like that. But my guess is even if it is required, you're probably not filling out the paper anyway. And so there's just a lot of anxiety and anxiousness. And you know what I said? Who cares? Who gives a flip? If we're going to succeed in this business, we're going to succeed by focusing on the things we can control, not the things you can't. In fact, one of the most popular posts I've ever made inside my Facebook group is this: if you were obsessed with your database as you are the NAR settlement, you'd have a massively successful business.
That was so funny, so funny.
It's true, Rachel. It's absolutely true. And I know as a leader, you probably heard people go, what are we going to do? Why isn't the office doing more? You need to do. Have you heard any of that, Rachel?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I go, call somebody. Like, go call someone in your database and pour into them and add value to them so that you're not worried about how you're getting paid because you already have a group of people who want to pay you. And so if we spend our time focused on the things we can control instead of focused on the things we can't, we'll succeed at a high level. There's a book out called Master of Change by a guy named Brad Stulberg. Highly recommend the book. It is a little bit academic, so you've got to, he's a research guy, he's a data guy, so you got to be into stuff like that to kind of read it. And actually, I have him as a guest on my private mastermind group here at noon Eastern. So in about an hour and 20 minutes, he's coming on to talk about his book. And he says that, in life, we go through change all the time. One change I'm going through right now that I'm 46 is that I have to take off my glasses to read. I have become my father. I have become my father overnight. Mike, do you wear glasses, Mike?
I have 3 different pair.
Yeah.
A computer pair, a reading pair, a driving pair.
Yeah. When I went to I forget what you call the eye doctor, what their actual name is, but when I went to him, he said, you need the progressive.
Oh.
I said, I refuse to get them. I'm not getting progressive lenses. What am I, my father? And now I can't read. I have to take off my glasses to read. So I've become my father at 46. But what Brad tells us in Master of Change that I want to unpack is that we go through in life, we go through what he calls order, disorder, reorder. Write that down. Order, disorder, reorder. Now, we all had an order to which the way we practiced our business. And then when we found out about the NAR settlement, we went through disorder. All of a sudden, all this disorder gets shuffled at us, and now we have to reorder. And he says, if you want freedom from anxiety, that requires you to learn how to navigate inevitable cycles of order, disorder, reorder. We have to learn how to navigate through them. That's why I thought it was so great that Mel Robbins was at Family Reunion. Who was at Family Reunion and saw Mel Robbins at Family Reunion? Raise your hand, a handful of you. I've been with Keller Williams 19 years. I've been to every family reunion, 19 consecutive family reunions. The very first keynote I ever heard at a family reunion was Zig Ziglar.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was my very first family reunion. And then this last time we had Tony and Mel Robbins. I mean, talk about kind of the sandwich of that. Mel Robbins is my favorite I've ever heard. And why? Because she said, you can't get trapped in the anxiety and the fear. You have to move through it. In fact, she had, if you were there, you saw Maricel come on and talk about that. And Mike, I'll send you the link of my interview with her if you want to send that out to everybody.
Yes.
Because I interviewed her afterwards, and I talked to her, and we interviewed her inside of Pivot Shift Ahead. Because if you were there, who was in the room and saw her? Raise your hand. It's a moment that if you were there, you'll never forget it. There were 2 people in the room. Cool. Well, I hope that you have a chance to see what happened. But basically, Mel Robbins, and if you know Mel Robbins, right, she comes out to the crowd and she's like, who wants to play Fear Factor? That's what she said. We're going to play Fear Factor. And she just grabs Maricel out of the crowd and makes her open an envelope. And she is shaking, like visibly shaking. And she walks her through this exercise. I don't want to ruin it for you because I'm sure you'll get to see it someday, but she walks through this exercise and eventually you just see all this fear and anxiety go away. And what Mel taught us was when you move through fear and anxiety, it goes away. But when you sit in it, it gets bigger. So we have to move through it. But most of us do what? Talk back to me. I can hear you. Most of us do what in fear? We sit in it. And when we sit in it, what happens?
Paralyzes you.
It does. It paralyzes you and it gets bigger. It grows. But when we move through it, it goes away
Easy.
or it drops because we understand what Brad teaches us about this order, disorder, reorder. When we understand that that's inevitable in our life, then we can move through it. So what I've been teaching people inside of Pivot Shift Ahead, and I do hope that you get on our mastermind calls. We do them every single morning. You're Central Time, right, in Missouri?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. And you can just go to my website, which is jamesdshaw.com, James D as in David, Shaw.com. And there's a link there that says join our free daily call, and you can join it. And I'm sure the office will send it out. But in that call, it starts at 6:30 Eastern, and we go until 6:30 Central. 6:30 Central, we go to 7:20 Central. And we mastermind strategies to help you overcome issues and challenges that you're experiencing and have big wins. And we've got people that are having big wins. And what I do is focus on things we can control. And one thing we can control is just how much effort we put toward our lead gen process every day. Now, I was interviewing people yesterday about it or asking about it yesterday. We had an agent raise her hand. Her name's Irene. She lives in Toronto. She's a great agent. She's been selling homes for 20 plus years. And she said, James, she's realized that this year, it takes her 47 contacts to get one listing appointment. 47, this is a top listing agent. 47 contacts. I go, how do you feel about that? She's like, well, I don't like it, but I don't really care. I'm like, why don't you care? Well, because that's just the number right now. Like it's been 19 contacts to get a listing appointment. Now it just happens to be 47 contacts to get a listing appointment because fewer people are interested in selling right now than were a couple of years ago, which we've seen reflected in sales and inventory and so on. She says, but I'm still going to play my game. I'm still going to win my race. And so I know now that if I need 2 listings, then I've got to call whatever 47 times 2 is. I went to Ball State. So that's hard for me. Yeah, whatever 47 times 2 is. Mike probably knows. Did you go to Mizzou, Mike? Is that where you went?
94.
Where did you go, Mike?
Went to Southwest Baptist University.
Oh, they don't do math there.
No, we don't.
It's Southwest Baptist. Rachel, where did you go, Rachel?
Missouri State University.
Missouri State?
Yes.
Are they the Bears?
Yes.
Maroon and like white?
Yes.
Yeah. If they ever have college mascots and colors as a category on Jeopardy, I will kick ass in that category. But Rachel, at Missouri State, do they teach math? What's 47 times 2?
47 times 2 is 94.
Okay, so she needs 94 contacts to take 2 listings. Well, does her goal change? The goal doesn't change. Does the path change? Yes, the path changes. And she can get frustrated by that, or she can just know that that's the path and get on the path. But the challenge is so many of us get parked in fear around lead generation that we never move through it. So I want you to start shouting stuff out. Mike, do you have a flip chart in there?
Yes.
Can you go up to it and start making the list?
He's running.
Okay, does he have to go get it? Is it somewhere else? Mike, okay, there it is. I think it zooms into my thingy. Okay. Mike, you have the flip chart? Okay, Rachel's got it. You made Rachel get it.
Is he supposed to write? Because I can't read his writing.
I'm not allowed to
Okay,
write.
well, Rachel, you can do the writing then. Yeah, that's fine.
Let's
What
go.
I want us to do, because who in here, be honest with me and transparent, I don't have time for cutesy wootsy and everything's perfect. I need real transparent people. So how many of you do struggle with getting kind of your lead gen done on a day-to-day basis? Raise your hand if you struggle with this and just put me in the chat if you're on Zoom. Okay, the rest of you are lying. All right, cool. Toss out some reasons, and Rachel's going to write them on the flip chart. What are some reasons why we struggle? What are the things that get in the way? Just start to, you can type some in the chat if you're on Zoom, or you can shout them out. What are some of the reasons?
Stuff.
Stuff. Okay, hold on. Who said stuff? Who did? Who said that?
I did.
Who's I?
Say your name.
Mark Stewart.
Mark. Okay. Mark, you have to give me more specific than that. That's like when I asked my 12-year-old, how was school?
Good.
And she's like, good. Okay. Well, what happened today? Nothing much. I mean, seriously, child. I know that's the answer I gave my dad, but that's not the answer you're going to give me. So, okay, is it Mark you said is your name, Mark?
Yes, it's Mark.
Okay, Mark. Tell me, what do you mean by stuff? Give me an example.
Just, you get phone calls.
Okay, incoming, you don't have to come to the front of the room. I mean, that's fine that you did. No, you're good. I like you. I like you a lot. You're a good dude. I'm a fan of yours. So you have incoming calls. In other words, like current clients need help and you need to service that. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay, so put in incoming calls, current clients, Rachel. Okay, and you can type, those of you on Zoom, type stuff in the chat. Who's next? What's another thing that gets in the way? Be honest and transparent. Don't be
Social
cute.
media.
Hold on. We have one right here. We have one. Paulina, who happens to be one of the top agents in your office, says fear of rejection.
Yeah.
Now, how many of you have fear of rejection? Hey, Paulina, can you come off mute?
Yep, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. How are you? It's good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too, James.
Listen, next time you're in my neighborhood, will you give me advance notice?
Yes.
They were here for spring break and didn't tell me till the day they were leaving. I'm like, what the heck?
We'll be back. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Let us know. When you say fear of rejection, I mean, you sell a bunch of houses. You have a good business. What are you concerned about rejection-wise? Can you be more specific?
So specifically, like if I call a lead that I haven't followed up with for, I don't know, a month or so, and they tell me, well, we're already under contract or we've hired another agent. And that just kind of like, oh, it's like a punch to your gut because you're like, I should have followed up with them. I wouldn't have lost that lead.
Yeah, I agree. So some rejection from someone because they're doing business with someone else. Paulina, do you know how to avoid that?
Make phone calls in the first place.
Don't wait a month. Yeah, don't wait a month. But yeah, no, you're right. That's a great share. And a lot of people go through that. Thank you for coming off mute. Give me another one. Rachel, who else in the room has one?
We had social media scroll.
Okay, we scroll on social media. My friend John Acuff. Anybody know my friend John Acuff? Familiar with his stuff? Do I have any of his books right here? I have so many books stacked up here. It's ridiculous. Here's one. Here's his latest book. It's called All It Takes Is a Goal. This is a really good book. All It Takes Is a Goal. My favorites from John are Finish and soundtracks, but this one, All It Takes Is a Goal, really good too. He posted today, if you follow him on Instagram, he posted today about how Instagram will tell you how many hours a week you spend on there. And for his last one, it was 13 hours, which he said 13 hours a week times 52 weeks is enough for him to write a whole nother book in a year. He basically writes a book a year, and if he spent less time on Instagram, he could write 2. I thought that was fascinating. So yeah, we get distracted by social media. What's another one? Somebody give me another one.
Do not call list.
Okay, I'm worried about the do not call. Put DNC because we want to be TCPA friendly. What's another one?
Who else?
Lack of motivation.
Lack of motivation.
Lack of motivation. That's because, truthfully, we got confused about what motivation is. We think motivation is a reason, but motivation is actually a result. Like you're motivated after, not before. And not until we figure that out can we take action toward it. You weren't motivated to do your taxes yesterday, but you either got them done or most of you probably did an extension. But at some point, you'll be motivated to get it done because you have no choice. If you wait to operate a business on motivation, you'll be broke before you lead generate because you won't lead generate until you have no choice. So we have to remember that motivation is a result. We get motivated after, not before. So that's a great answer too. Give me another one.
Who else? There's multiple hands. Come on, someone.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, go ahead, someone.
Someone just say it.
So they said they don't know what to say.
Fatigue of talking to people.
Fatigue of talking to people.
Fatigue. You get tired of talking to people who pay your mortgage?
Well, I'm not the rainmaker. I'm speaking for her.
Oh, okay. All right.
She
That's
had
sweet.
gone on appointment.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll under the talk to people, I would put in, don't want to bother them. I
Yeah.
hear that a lot. Anybody worried about bothering people? Raise your hand. I'm looking at you in the screen. Raise your hand. A couple people. Okay. Sometimes they tell me I don't know what to say, so I don't call because I don't know what to say. Anybody worried about that? Don't know what to say. Okay. All right. Rachel, do you think, is there anything we're missing that's a glaring one as you look at the list? You have great handwriting.
Thank you. That's why me versus Mike, we have comparisons a lot.
Family.
Honestly, it's just, that's not what they see as fun and exciting. They don't see it growing.
Okay, it's not fun. It's not exciting. Write that down too, Rachel. Write that down. Okay. And by the way, I don't know what time I'm supposed to be done. So if I need to stop, you can stop me at any time. But otherwise, I'll just keep going. I'm like you put a quarter in the little carousel at the mall and it just keeps going around and around. And that's me. So look at the list, everybody. Look at the list and tell me that list that we just compiled. Who are all of those things about?
Ourselves.
Yeah. Those things are all about us. Who's the business supposed to be about?
Them.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. When we come up with all the reasons why we don't want to lead generate, they're all our own reasons. But the business isn't about you. It's never been about you. In fact, none of you got in it because it was about you. Most of you got in the business because you wanted to help people. I meet people all the time who got in the business because they had a bad experience buying a home and said, I don't want anyone to have the experience I had. Raise your hand if that's you. If you were like, yeah, I see some people in the back that you had a bad experience and you're like, I can do better than this. And I saw how much money they got paid on that HUD. So I'm going to go do this for a living. But when we make the list about the reasons why we don't do the things that we have control over, these are all things that are about us. But the truth is, if we push those things to the side and instead made it about the people, and we checked in with the people, and we added value to the people, then whatever NAR does is irrelevant because the people will be committed to you. When I like to think about the way this business works, is I go, I think we have, and I may have taught this to you before, I think we have one of two options when it comes to building a business. We can make our business all about helping people. In other words, helping the most people possible. Or we can make our business about making the most amount of money possible. We cannot make it about both. You can only serve one of those two groups. You can either help the most people possible or make the most money possible. Now, when I go ask normal, kind, helpful, wonderful agents like you what your business is it about helping as many people as possible or making as much money as possible? What does nearly every wonderful, kind real estate agent say?
Helping people.
Helping people. That's what they all tell me. And then I ask the question, well, then why is it you only talk to them if they're paying you? If you say your business is about helping as many people as possible, then that means you should talk to them when they're not paying you. But most of you only talk to someone when they are. You're out and about doing your thing and you walk into a Starbucks and you run into a friend and she's like, hey girl, hey. And you're like, hey girl, hey. And what's going on? And Landon says this all the time. I've seen it. And you're catching up and having fun. Yeah. And you're catching up and all of a sudden the person's like, hey, how's the market? Who's had this conversation ever at the Starbucks? They're like, how's the market? And you're like, oh, it's crazy. Yeah, everything's going nuts. And they're like, we've been thinking about, we probably do want to sell the house at the end of the school year because Sally Joe's graduating. And I mean, literally, who's had conversations like this? And you should stop. Can you stop by and let us know what it's worth? And you're like, oh, I'm happy to do that. Let me text you and we'll set up a time. And you open your text and you see the last time you texted them was, hey, thanks so much for buying your house with me. Let me know if I can help you 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You don't care about people. You care about money. Oh, this person wants to pay me $15,000. I'll text them all day. What's going on? When should I stop by? I just did the thing on your house. Oh, girl, you wouldn't believe how much it's worth now. Holla. I was just reading from Landon's phone. That's all I was doing right there. I was just reading from phone. But the point is, now that person's paying you, you're all in. And the reason why, look at the list. The list is over here for me. I don't know where it is for you. But when you look at the The list is full of all these things that are about us that keep us from reaching out and checking in. You know, Paulina, I think the easiest way to check in with people is to call them and say, hi, how are you? Hey, how are you? You know, the last time we talked, you told me you were planning to do blah, blah, blah. Is that still your plan? And we do that every once in a while. We're in good shape for the lead that we didn't follow up with. For everybody else in our database, we call once a quarter. And we say, hey, Rachel, it's James at Keller Williams. You know, I was just thinking about you today. I hope all is well and wanted to check in and see how you're doing. And if we do that enough times, then I think when they're ready to do business with us, they'll let us know.
Yes.
Our job is to be there for them when they need us and to make sure they can remember us when they do. And we can only do that by communicating consistently. And if you realize that your job is to pour in your people and check in on them, all the stuff you put on the list is irrelevant. Now we know what to say. Hey, how are you? We're not worried about, oh, Adam is, there we go, thank you. We're not worried about bothering them because we care about them. You can't bother someone you care about. We're gonna add value to them on a regular basis. So let's talk about how we do that. How many touches do you think is the right number of touches for your database so that when they, to first, A, show that you care about them as a person, not just care about them when they pay you, and B, when they're ready to pay you, they'll reach out to you, and C, they don't care if they have to pay you as a buyer or not. How many touches do you think it is annually for us to be able to create that kind of relationship with our database? What do we think it is?
32.
32, okay, all right. I think it's more.
72.
I think it's more than 72. I think Nicole got it. I think it's 100 touches. I think we have to do 100 touches in a year's time to be able to truly tell that person, I care about you. Now, here's why I say that. Today is, did you know, this is very exciting. 14 years ago today, I asked Terry Hollowell if she would like to marry me. Isn't that great? Do you know what she said? Let me think about it. No, she didn't say that. Actually, her exact quote was, yes, yes, 80 times yes. That's what she said. We've been married, it'll be 14 years this year, which is a record for me because she's my second wife. And so it's very exciting, very exciting. But 14 years this year. Today is the 14-year anniversary of when we got engaged, and then we got married on October 16th, six months later. And we've been married now 13 and a half years. We have a 12-year-old daughter, and everything is wonderful. And I know that if I just tell her 36 times a year that I care about her, that's not enough times. Like, I have to tell her more. And I'm a systems person. Truth is, actually, on our first date, I gave her a copy of Shift. That's a true story. It was 2009. We had gone out on our first date. I was a team leader in Cary, North Carolina, and Shift had just come out, and we were teaching it to everybody. And she worked for Ferguson. Y'all know Ferguson kitchen lighting bath place, and their business had fallen off too. And I'm like, oh, well, you should read this book. It would really help you. And she was actually offended by it and thought it was a parting gift. She thought I wasn't into her, but I was like, I'm really into you. And I know right now, since I'm into you, I'd like to build a relationship with you. And Gary Keller says I need to do an 8x8. And this is a true story. This is 100% true. And I need to do an 8x8 to build a relationship. So I've got to have some sort of 8 pieces of communication over 8 weeks. And so now we're finished our first date. Gary says, give an item of value. And the only item of value I had in the trunk of my car was a box of Shift books. It's a true story. And you all laugh and giggle, but listen, we've been married for 13 and a half years, okay? So before you get all whatever, oh my gosh, what a weirdo, okay? And you think I'm weird, listen, I won. I won the game. I got to pull up a picture real quick. I won. Here we are right here. Here's my family right there. Look at how cute we are right there. Look at that. So you can giggle and laugh all day, but it worked.
Yay.
Yeah. So here's the deal. I gave her a copy of Shift, and then I waited 3 days, and then I called her because I didn't want to seem too eager. And I thought, well, Jesus waited 3 days, so that's a good amount of days to wait. And so I waited 3 days and called her, and then whatever. And it worked out. But here's what I realized. Like, just the introduction piece isn't enough. And just the fact that we're married, let's just say in my database, right, doesn't mean that we have a relationship. My relationship with my wife and now my 12-year-old daughter is the conversations we have daily. That's what Susan Scott taught us in Fierce Conversations, that the conversation is the relationship. And if we do not have conversation with our people, then we are not in relationship with them. The way Terry and I do it is we have a date night once a week. Every Wednesday is date night. It's just the two of us, and we go every single Wednesday, not every single Wednesday, but a majority of Wednesdays. I'd say 45 of the 52 Wednesdays a year, we have a date night. We do a lot of stuff together. Naomi and I hang out. That's my daughter. We do stuff together. Like, that conversation's important. We try to have dinner together every night that we're able to, and we always talk about, like, what was something fun that happened today? Where did we screw up today? We call it fun, funny, and flop. And we always talk about what's something fun that happened, what's a flop we had or a lesson we learned, and then what's something funny that happened. And we talk about it every night at dinner. Like, that's just kind of our thing. Why? Because the conversation is the relationship. I've got to be in relationship with my wife and my daughter. You've got to be in relationship with your database. When Naomi was in second grade, it was 2019, 2020. I was still doing Bold back in the day. I did Bold in St. Louis a handful of times, which was a ton of fun. And I was doing Bold back then. And I remember I'd do Bold Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I would drive Naomi to school. And I'm pulling in and I'm dropping her off in school. She's in second grade. And she gets out of the car, and I'd always say to her, Naomi, I love you. And my daughter looks at me this one day. She's second grade. How old are you in second grade? Like 7? Mm-hmm. She looks at me and she goes, you tell me that all the time. And it wasn't like, oh, Dad, you're the best dad. I'm never going to forget that you love me because you're constantly telling me how much you love me. And I so appreciate that. Thank you, Dad, for always reminding me. No, it was like, can I get out of the car here and walk? Like, that's how it was. And I said, you know what, Naomi? I do tell you all the time. And you want to know why I tell you all the time? And she says, why? Now, remember, she's 7. She's in second grade. She says, yeah, why do you tell me all the time? I said, because someday I'm going to be dead and I'm not going to be able to tell you. Okay, for transparency, I did not say that because that would be a horrible thing to say to you. In my mind, that's what I'm thinking. But I said, you know why I tell you? Because I never want you to forget. I'm going to tell you all the time, even if you know, because I don't want to risk the fact that you might forget. And now, as she's growing up, she's 12 and moving into these tween teen times, which are just so terribly exciting and fun. You know what? She's going to need to know someday. Like, there's going to be a moment that she needs to know that her dad loves her dad's on her team, her dad cares about her dad has her back, and I won't be there to tell her. She needs to know. And that foundation is laid in the number of times that I tell her this. Again, your database is no different. Your database needs to hear from you. They need to know you care. It's time to make your database about them and quit making it about you. It's time to move through the fear of the rejection, of the bothering them, of not wanting to say, instead of sitting in it and make it worse and making it become something significantly worse than it actually is. It's time to move through it and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. I want to see how you're doing. You do that call once a quarter, that's 4 touches right there. You follow that up with a handwritten note, that's another 4 touches right there. Now we're up to 8 touches. You send them a text the following week saying it was so great to talk to you, that's another 8 touches. Now what are we up to? 12 touches, right? Let's just write it down. That's 12 touches off a phone call right there. Listen, if you send a newsletter once a week through your email, that's 52 touches. Now don't make the newsletter about you, make the newsletter about your community. See, too many of you send newsletters are like, check out my new listing. No one gives a flip. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you took a new listing. If they cared about your listing, they'd call you and say, show it to me. So instead, what we do is we do a newsletter about what's going on in the community. Here's the events going on in the neighborhood this week. You might do a story about a buyer that you just helped. Meet Sally and Joe. They just bought a house. You know what? They thought with interest rates the way they were, they wouldn't be able to pull it off, but we were able to walk them through a program that got them into the house at the payment they wanted, and they're so happy. And then there's a quote, we're so happy. We bought our house. Da, 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 da. And then underneath it, you're like, here's my new listing. Hey, what do you think would look best on the front porch? And you do a this and a that. Like, get them involved in that stuff. And then tell them about whatever contest, whatever you're doing. But if you do a newsletter a quarter, Now all of a sudden we're up to 64 touches. Now then I think you want to run this play. I learned this from my friend Jordan Freed. Write this down. Opt in, call in, come in. Did everybody write that down? Do I need to say it again?
Yes.
Opt in, call in, come in. Now, think of an opt-in like this. Once a quarter, you email out to your whole database, hey, we're going to give away for Mother's Day a brunch for 10 at the such and such restaurant. If you would like to enter to win, go to my website, enter to win. It's a Google form. Are y'all writing this down? I'm giving you gold. Write this down. And they go and they put in their name and their number and their email address. By the way, this is how you update the database and grow it, and you send it out to your database. And then you ask in there, you know, hey, do you or anyone you know have a real estate need? Are you curious about the value of your home? I'll be happy to send you a free email evaluation, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's an opt-in. They're opting in to win something. Father's Day, you give away a big green egg. I don't care what you do. You decide. It doesn't matter. Don't overthink stuff. Give away tickets to something. I don't care. Give away a signed photo of yourself. It doesn't really matter. But that's an opt-in. A call-in is a reverse bold 100. A call-in is a reverse bold 100. Mike, remind me, and I'll send you my interview with Ellie McIntyre that I did on her reverse bold 100 process. That's like an opt-in, but instead of them going to a website, they call in. That's not a new idea. And a come-in is, you do that once a quarter. So see, we do an opt-in once a quarter, a call-in once a quarter, and then we do a come-in once a quarter. And a come-in is like when you give away the pie giveaway, or you host your ice cream social over the summer, whatever that is, your quarterly event. Now that's 3 events, 1 event a quarter, right? So that's 12. The event itself is 12 more touches. We were at 64 touches. Now we're at 76 touches. And each event has a minimum of 2 touches on the front end and 2 touches on the back end. So that's 4 more touches times 12. 2 on the front, 2 on the back, an event, something of some kind every month. Are we way past 100 at this point? And now what your job is every day is to just get up and run that play. Am I calling my database this month about my come in, my opt in, or my call in? Am I just checking in to call to say hi? As I get a lead and I put it in my pipeline, I'm just calling and saying, hey, the last time we talked, you told me that you want to do blank. Is that still your plan? Folks, if you got up every day and that's all you did, then whatever NAR does, whatever happens in the market, all that other stuff is irrelevant, because who's going to take the listings and work with the buyers? You. See, I think the settlement and the state of the market are irrelevant to the individual agent. I don't think they mean anything. There is not enough business for every single one of you to reach your goals, but there is enough for you to reach yours. There'll be 4.5 million homes sold this year, 9 million sides. What's your goal? 36? Like, there's enough for you. You just have to be willing to go get it. So tomorrow, when you get after it, just realize your one job is to move through the fear and go help somebody. And when you transition from making the business about money and make it about people, you'll win more times than you lose. All right, was this of value to you, Rachel? Was this all right? Was this what you wanted? Yeah? Okay. Can I get real quick, Mike, I think I went over, and I apologize if I took too much time.
That's okay, 30, so we're good.
Can I get a couple of ahas, and then I want to give you some next steps. But tell me what you got from our time together, folks.
Who has an aha?
I have one. James, we had Aaron Kaufman in last week, and he talked about how Keller Williams was known for being an agent-focused company. Changing that to be a client-focused company. And everything you just said today is that. It's not about us. It's not about our brokerage. It's about the people we're dealing with.
Yeah. Well, your database is your business. And this is how, like when I would do a bold, I would look at the people that chose to be in the bold room, and I was full of so much gratitude, because that was the group of people who, at the time my daughter was in private school, paid for that school. Those are the people who paid my mortgage. Those are the people who paid for us to eat. I was full of gratitude for the people who were in a bold room with me, because they were funding my life. And I look at it this way now. I have Pivot Shift Ahead, which many of you are a part of. that is a free community, 120,000 people that get on the call every day. But then I also have a paid community that's got about 1,000 people in it. We meet once a week for an hour and really unpack things and mastermind and strategize together. And we got 1,000 people in that. They pay $99 a month to be in it. And I'm so grateful to those people because they allow me to employ 4 other people, provide health insurance to those 4 people, feed my family, provide health insurance to my family. Like, I'm full of gratitude for the people in my database because without them, I have nothing. I can't sit in fear and worry about bothering them. No, I have to add so much value to them that they say, James, we're good. James, turn it down. We're good. We've got to pour into our people. Let me tell you real quick. Again, our pivot call, Pivot Shift Ahead on Facebook is free. Come join that. Be on our mastermind calls if you want. Again, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. The link is on my website, jamesdshaw.com. And you can do just that, and I'll never ask you to pay anything. And if you can't make the calls live, they're all recorded and posted in the Facebook group. But if you like to go deeper, you are welcome to join my private community that's called the Inspire Collective. And it's inspire.jamesdshaw.com. Or if you go to jamesdshaw.com, you'll find it too. But inspire.jamesdshaw.com. We meet every Tuesday at 11 Eastern, where we go, like today, I've got Brad Stulberg coming on. I already lost his book, and I got to find it before we talk to him, to go through and talk about how we get through changing times. We've had Ryan Holiday on that call. We've had the chief economist of NAR to talk about the market. But the big thing we do all the time is interview agents to get strategy so that you can go play, I say NKOTB it. We go step by step, right? NKOTB. And step by step on do this, then do this, then do this to try to help people take advantage of the opportunity in this market. So if you're into that, you're welcome to join it. Inspire.jamesdshaw.com, $99 a month. I'd be happy to have you. And then every Wednesday at 1 Eastern, I interview someone inside of Pivot Shift Ahead. Paulina was one of my guests one time. She gave a great interview. That woman's a genius. And then I had Phil M. Jones on last week talking about exactly what to say. He's been around a lot. So that's some free content for you too. If I can help you with anything, James D. Shaw on Instagram is the best way to reach me. James D. Shaw on Instagram. Thank you for having me. Anything else, Rachel or Mike?
There's a couple things I wanted to point out. So in James's Pivot Shift Ahead group, he approves every single message that comes through there.
I do.
So
Yeah.
you will never have like these one-off weird conversations. He approves everything. And if it ever gets out, it gets crazy. I love his like direct response of like, don't worry about this, keep moving forward. This is a non-existent conversation.
Yeah.
The other thing, I know he's extremely booked and has a large wait list. However, I believe we may have some pool. Would any of you be interested in bringing James Shaw live here?
Of course.
Show of hands, show of hands.
2 people? 2 whole people raise their hand?
And the commitment to bring him, we need at least 150 people. So do you all commit that you will be there when we bring him and you will invite 3 people, whether internally or externally, to be there? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, cool. We will get that on the books and hopefully we can go through his wait list, but fingers crossed. He will.
You're right at the top. That's right. Oh,
Yes.
here is my thing I posted that was so offensive to some people.
Yeah.
But
So-
it's true. It's only offensive if you're obsessed over the settlement. Listen, I would love to come see you guys, Rachel, anytime. I appreciate your community.
I'm taking pictures of everybody in this room and I know exactly who to reach out to and online.
James, I had
You're
one
fine.
random question. That picture of
Yeah.
your family, it was blurry, but was that Hollywood Studios?
Okay.
It was one of the Disney parks. I don't know which one.
You're speaking my love language right there.
Yeah, I joke that my job is to feed the mouse. The reason why we exist is I'm 70 miles from Magic Kingdom's parking lot. So yeah.
I got kicked out of the park one day. It was an incredible day. Everything was wonderful and I was feeling goofy and Goofy called security.
Oh goodness. Don't get crazy at Disney. Thank you for having me, friends. I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
I want to give you all a couple other things real quick. So he talked about Mel Robbins. I think, Paulina, we're going to be
Yeah,
running
so
that.
May 21st, it's gonna be Mel and Mimos, meaning mimosas. So we have the recording from Mel Robbins from Family Reunion, so we're gonna replay that. So for those of you that were not at Family Reunion, this is the perfect time to see it for the first time. And for those of you that were there, this is a great refresher to be a part of that.
Next week, we're going to have a vendor guest day business relationship. It's going to help you learn how to use our vendors to your advantage. And then most of you need to come to April 29th, which is ADHD is your superpower. And most of you will forget that, so we'll remind you over and over. But we have a lot of stuff for Q2 to help you get through and become not just better agents, but better people too.
So, the biggest thing, just what I've taken from James, is focus on your people. In everything in life, even if it wasn't real estate, the more you focus on others, it's going to enrich your life. And so the same way about your database, the database is your business. Treat it like a business, because at one point you may decide you do not want to sell real estate anymore. There is value in your database. That's called the golden handoff. There are multiple agents I know that actually sell their database to other real estate teams to earn a value based on all their hard work so they can go live the rest of their life of what they want to do. So treat it like a business. It's not just the Rolodex, it's not just your iPhone, it's not just your CRM. It is truly a business. And the moment you start treating it like that, you will see the return.
And you gotta take care of keeping in touch with. Maria, you had something?
April 29th is a Monday.
Then that's wrong. It's whatever the Tuesday
April
is.
30th.
We'll blame that on
Okay.
us.
Any other ahas you would like to share for today? Any other ahas? Okay, yes, yeah.
I've been reading the one thing.
Mhm.
I feel like when he says, make it about the people, that's the one thing that makes everything else easier.
And unnecessary, you bet. You bet, it's great. Okay, so we will get that booked. We will get a date out for that so we can get registration going. And thank you all for being here today. Super excited.
You're amazing. Have a great week.